Actually, one of the points that you mentioned, late in terms of the case of Venezuela, I think it's totally connected with the behavior of the Zionists in the Middle East, with the behavior of the Netanyahu's Netanyahu's government and his administration, because we've learned just yesterday that one of the Israeli fighter jets was using the Iraqi airspace to get closer to the Iranian border, refueled by American refueling planes. It seems that I don't know what as the case of Venezuela is not going to be a war. It's something that would bring some sort of chaos. As you know, once they get that point, the Israeli, I'm talking about Netanyahu and his administration, they're going to start, attacking maybe Iran and Hezbollah at the same time. How do you feel that? And do you think that would help them, or they're preparing that they somehow they feel that if they go in that direction, the United States would come in, the British government, Germany, France, you know, the case of Ukraine, it seems that it's in final stages. It seems that Europe can do nothing about, the continuation of the conflict. How do you see these two conflicts impacting what's going on in the Middle East?
Yeah, look, an attack on Venezuela will be tragic, obviously, for people in Venezuela. But it will be really the first major war that the West fights outside the Arabic world
Mm.
since the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, in a way, some of the brunt of the imperialist machine will be lifted off us. And if the US actually enters a war in Venezuela, I hope that Iran has transferred much of the technologies and weapons that it gave to Yemen, for instance, to Venezuela. And I think they did. We will see drones and hypersonic missiles being fired by Venezuela. And I hope that we see American aircraft carriers sinking. And obviously, there will be death, and we don't wish it on the people of Venezuela. But if this happens, this will be the ideal time for Iran to re-trigger a war with the Zionists. The U.S. doesn't have the ability to fight multiple wars, and I mean full-scale wars, not just bombardment here and there. And the aircraft carriers are busy in the Caribbean. They're not going to come to defend the Zionists here. What we saw yesterday with this simulated attack run that the Zionists did shows you also how Iraq is not sovereign. Right? Iraq doesn't have control of its airspace. It has all these air defenses that supposedly the Americans gave them, but it can't even shoot the Zionist planes flying over Iraq. That's something for the Iraqi people and the Iraqi government to think about. There's an election happening right now in Iraq. It's like not immediately, but the parliamentary part is unrolling right now, and there will be a election of the president and prime minister also coming up. And Nour al-Maliki, which was the prime minister of Iraq, that is the most pro-resistance, is trying to come back into position. So maybe he will win. There's a big possibility he will win because of how people are frustrated about these daily violations of Iraqi sovereignty. Those refueling jets flying out of Qatar openly like that, and then violating Iraqi airspace to fill gas on these Israeli airplanes, all indicate also that if there's a full-scale war with Iran again, that Iran will have to target American bases, unlike last time where it tried not to target American bases, even though everybody knew that the Israeli planes couldn't be conducting raids against Iran without the direct support of logistically of AWACS coming out from Turkey and the Gulf and or these refueling jets. But it avoided it till the last minute, as we saw, until the US directly and openly participated in the attack on Iran with the last few days there with the B-1 bombers and so forth. And that's when Iran retaliated. In the next stage of this war, when and where it breaks out as a full-scale war with Iran, Iran will be targeting American bases. And this is, I think, why the Zionists are so scared. Although they want the war on Venezuela, they're still scared that it's happening right now. They want to trigger wars in the region here in West Asia before the war in Venezuela. Otherwise, they may find themselves at their weakest point of even supplies and so forth.
And let's remember that the Israeli government wants the war with Venezuela. They want, because they see the Venezuelan government as one of the obstacles here in Latin America, because they're totally against what Israel is doing in the Middle East against Palestinians and Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Syria. And I don't know if that would help them, you know, Laith. It doesn't change anything in here in Latin America, even if they manage, to topple the government in Venezuela, because the tone has changed totally here in Latin America. It's not just about Venezuela. You see Colombia, Brazil, all these countries, except Argentina. All the governments here in Latin America are supporting the Palestinian state, the Palestinian right.
Yeah, and you see, look, I want us to be very careful here and recognize actually that what Colombia and Brazil are doing right now under Lula and Petro
But
is that they're playing the same role that Egypt and Jordan played during the genocide in Gaza. Pretend that you're pro-Palestinian, pretend that you are against this war and this genocide while you're actually working with it. And the only reason that Colombia under this president or Brazil under this president are not outright supporting Zionism, are not outright supporting the war on Venezuela, is because they're scared because of the existence of Venezuela. But if Venezuela is destroyed, if Venezuela is occupied like Syria is, then these leaders in Colombia and Brazil will be shameless and will openly support the occupation of Venezuela, as they did with the occupation of Haiti, right? So we need to be careful with this. Words are cheap and they could be changed easily. Brazil worked against the ascension of Venezuela into BRICS. Okay, I actually, if I am in the Venezuelan military leadership right now, I wouldn't be only worried about sea invasion from the Caribbean islands that are right on the coast of Venezuela. I'll be worried about invasion from Brazil, invasion from Colombia. The Colombian military, every base is half of it American troops and American generals. There's no, you can't, you have to be worried about that. And I'm sure the Venezuelans are watching their back. So I don't put any more, much into the words coming out of Lula or Petro.
yeah, that was disappointing. Actually, Lula didn't let Venezuela to be part of BRICS. That was hugely disappointing. But after all, it's not just about Lula, Laith. It's about the society here in Brazil. It's about the society in, the people of Colombia. I think that they cannot go, against the will of the people the way they want to see the situation with the case of Palestine.
Maybe, but again, look at the Arabic leaderships.
Yeah.
when there's 98% of the population saying we're against Zionism and we're for the liberation of Palestine, and they don't care. They just kill the people. They'll jail them. I mean, look at what Brazil is doing to much of the working class. We see every day those wars between the special forces of the police of Brazil going into the favelas and just mass killing, mass murdering people, right? Did Lula bring to justice those who killed some of the politicians during Bolsonaro's era that were very progressive? I don't remember her name. She was uh, in Sao Paulo in the city council. She got killed in 2018 when I was there in Brazil. Anyway, she was assassinated. So we see that Brazil is still buying products from the Zionist colony. It's similarly with Colombia, with all the R&R, rest and recreation of Israeli soldiers. Colombia is the #1 destination for Israeli soldiers for R&R in Latin America. So it's easy to talk, and if they're not willing to defend Venezuela, why would I even think that they'll be willing to defend Palestine? I mean, if Venezuela is invaded, do you think Brazil is going to come and help them? It's not. So that's a sad situation. But I see that people in Latin America actually have a responsibility right now to rise against these collaborationist regimes for their own sake. And the people in Latin America have a better chance to do something than, let's say, the people in Saudi who have been raped and pillaged and put in jail and executed. Every day, there's like 20, 30 people getting beheaded in the Saudi kingdom of hell. Okay, the Brazilian and the Colombian population have an easier time to revolt than, let's say, the Saudi or the Egyptian population. That is, in Egypt, there's almost 200,000 political prisoners. Okay, this is crazy. This I can understand sometimes why Arabic peoples are too scared to revolt, because they were made an example of as Arabic people that try to revolt. But come on, people in Latin America can do better. And I love my extended siblings in Latin America. But if you can't defend Venezuela, I don't think you can defend Palestine.
Laith, you mentioned that maybe Pope gonna go to Lebanon, and you may go to the University of Beirut, if I'm not mistaken, as a key, speakers there. And let us know about what's your plan and how you're going to talk about the case of Palestine. You're going to talk about the situation with Lebanon. What are you going to talk about if you go there?
Yes, of course, the Pope is coming. So part of his trip is the Vatican Ministry of Culture is setting up events here. One of these events is at NDU, which is Notre Dame University. It's a Christian university here, just outside Beirut, and they're holding an event about impunity against journalists, the killing of journalists. So it's a journalist rights event, and they invited me to be the key speaker, keynote speaker tomorrow. I didn't publish it anywhere because I was worried about NDU University and the Vatican getting attacked by the Zionists online. So it's a big honor for me to speak, and I will be speaking about the plight of journalists in Lebanon and in Palestine during this genocide, and looking at solutions and what we can do to better the situation for the journalists here. And I will be traveling to Italy just after to film also about the history of resistance in Italy and the relationship between the Zionists and the Italian fascists, and of course the actions that are happening right now in Italy in support of Palestine, including the national strike that's happening in 2 days. We will be filming there. So, and plus, by the way, it's my birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday.
So
And
I'm turning old. I'm 48 years old today. So anybody that wants to wish me a good birthday, happy birthday, please, donate to FPTV, Free Palestine TV, so we can continue bringing this content. And I hope that the educational content that we're doing from all around Europe will invigorate people, will bring knowledge of things that people have forgotten, and entice people to take action, to liberate themselves and help Palestine in its path for liberation.